They said it with a laugh. "Relax, Grandma. It's just a joke." As if that made it harmless. As if the sticky floors, the smell of spilled beer soaked into my rug, the sharp chemical stench drifting from the guest room, and 5 strangers passed out in my home, were something to laugh about. At 78, I've lived long enough not to be easily shocked. But humiliation? That's different. And I was not prepared to feel it in my own home, especially not at 2 in the morning. It started with music. Low at first. A dull, pulsing bass that slipped through the floorboards like something alive. I thought I'd imagined it. But then came the laughter. High-pitched. Careless. Young. The kind of laughter that fills a room without asking permission. The kind that doesn't care who hears it. I sat up slowly, reaching for my glasses. And in that moment I understood 2 things very clearly. The music was real. And I was not alone in my house. I slipped into my robe and made my way downstairs. Each step felt heavier than the last, but deep down, I already knew what I would find. Bella. My granddaughter. 19 years old. Restless. Drifting. Always between something. 2 weeks ago, she had shown up at my door with a suitcase and a trembling voice. "Just a few nights, Grandma." I should have said no. But when your own blood stands in front of you, eyes red, voice breaking, you don't think logically. You open the door. You make the bed. You heat the soup. That's what grandmothers do. The guest room door was wide open. A smell poured out, burnt, sharp chemical. Not food. Not anything that belonged in my home. I didn't step inside. I didn't need to. Instead, I turned toward the living room. And there it was. Bella was sprawled across the couch, a plastic cup dangling loosely from her hand. Someone else's jacket lay crumpled across her lap. A boy with green hair danced alone in front of the window. 2 girls sat on the floor, laughing at something on a phone. Bottles everywhere. My ceramic lamp broken on the floor. And in the middle of it all, Bella looked at me and waved, like I was a houseplant that had suddenly started speaking. "Grandma, you're up." We were trying to be quiet. "Turn it off," I said. My voice sounded thinner than I expected. "Weak." "Chill," she replied, standing up, swaying slightly. "It's just a joke, Grandma. We're celebrating." That word again. Joke. I don't know what angered me more. The word itself, or the way she said, "Grandma," like it meant nothing. I said, "Turn it off." I stood there in my own living room, wearing a robe I had mended 3 times, staring at the chaos. And in that moment, something settled in my chest. A realization. I had no control here. None. "This is my home," I said. Bella rolled her eyes. "You told me I could have a few friends over." "A few." I pointed toward the kitchen. Someone I didn't even recognize was lying on the floor. Shoes off, completely passed out. "You said 2 people." She shrugged. "It's not illegal." "I didn't say it was illegal," I replied quietly. "I said it's my house." And then, the knock came. Not a doorbell. A knock. Heavy. Deliberate. Once. Twice. Then again. Everything stopped. The music. The laughter. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. Bella turned toward the door. And for the first time that night, her expression changed. "I swear if you called the cops." I didn't call anyone. But someone had. Because through the window I saw it. Red and blue lights flashing against the neighbor's car. Bella cursed under her breath and stumbled toward the door. "Don't say anything," she hissed over her shoulder. "Let me handle this." I didn't move. I just watched. She opened the door. "Officers, hi." Her voice tried to sound casual. It didn't work. 2 men stood there. One young, barely older than Bella. The other older. Tired. Observant. Neither of them smiled. Whose house is this? The older officer asked. Bella hesitated, then slowly turned her head toward me. My grandma's. Can we speak with her? Grandma, she said, forcing a smile. They just want to ask you something. Be cool. Okay. Be cool. In my own house. I stepped forward. My heart was pounding, but my voice didn't shake this time. Ma'am, the officer said gently, we've received a noise complaint. Neighbors also reported possible illegal activity. He glanced past Bella, into the mess. Do you know these individuals? I looked at them. The strangers. The bottles. The broken lamp. The ruined room. Then I looked at Bella. Waiting. Expecting. They're my granddaughter's friends, I said. They were not invited. Bella's head snapped toward me. Grandma. She told me 2 people, I continued. I didn't agree to this. The younger officer nodded. We'll need everyone to leave. And we may need to search the premises. Bella's voice shot up instantly. You can't search my grandma's house. The older officer met her gaze calmly. If we suspect illegal activity, we can. Then he looked at me. Kind but firm. And ma'am, if you didn't invite them, you have every right to let us proceed. I should have protected her. That's what I had always done. When she crashed her car. When money went missing from my purse. When excuses came faster than apologies. When my son said, she's just going through a phase. But this time, I didn't. I looked at the room again. The damage. The disrespect. The strangers. Then back at Bella. You can proceed, I said. And for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel weak. I felt clear. The shift in the room was immediate. Not loud. Not chaotic. Just heavy. Like the air itself had turned against them. The officers moved with quiet efficiency. Everyone sit down, the older one said. No shouting. No drama. Just authority. And suddenly the same people who had been laughing minutes ago were silent. One of the girls scoffed from the floor. I know my rights. You can't hold us here without a lawyer. The younger officer, Daniels, didn't even raise his voice. No one's under arrest, he said calmly. But no one's leaving just yet either. That word yet landed harder than anything else. I watched Bella. Really watched her. Her shoulders tightened. Her jaw clenched. She started chewing the inside of her cheek like a child caught doing something she couldn't talk her way out of. For the first time that night, she wasn't in control. They began taking statements, names, ages, who lived there, one by one. I didn't interfere, didn't defend, didn't soften anything. I stood in the hallway with my arms folded, and let the truth speak for itself. After a few minutes, Daniels approached me. His voice was gentle. Ma'am, can I ask you a few questions? I nodded and followed him into the kitchen. The same kitchen I had cleaned just hours earlier. Counters wiped. Towels folded. Everything in its place. I had prepared it for her. For Bella. Like a fool. How many people did your granddaughter say she was inviting? He asked. 2. I didn't hesitate. She's pushed boundaries before, I added. But not like this. He wrote something down. Were you aware of any substances in the house? Alcohol, drugs? Anything like that? No, I said. Not until tonight. He studied me for a second. Not suspicious. Just understanding. You're not in trouble, ma'am, he said. But depending on what we find, we may need to take her in for questioning. My stomach tightened. Even then, even after everything, there was still a part of me that wanted to protect her. The little girl who used to sit in my garden, braiding dandelions into my gloves. But that part of me was getting smaller. From the living room I heard movement. Zippers. Fabric shifting. Then the older officer, Mathis, spoke. "What's this?" I stepped closer just enough to see. A black duffel bag, pulled out from behind the couch. Opened. Inside. Small plastic baggies. Neatly packed. Unmistakable. Bella saw it too. Her voice came fast. Sharp. Defensive. "That's not mine." No hesitation. No pause. "I don't know whose that is." Mathis didn't react. "Ma'am," he said evenly, "this bag was directly behind the couch you were sitting on. I didn't put it there." Before anyone else could speak, one of the girls, the one with freckles, pointed. "I saw her with it earlier." Everything snapped. "You're lying," Bella shouted, lunging forward. But she didn't get far. Daniels caught her arm immediately. "That's enough." Firm. Controlled. Final. And just like that, the illusion shattered. No more party. No more jokes. Just consequences. "You're all going to be taken in for statements," Daniels said. "If there's nothing to charge, you'll be released." Bella turned to me then. Desperate. "Grandma, tell them. I live here." I looked at her. Really looked. Not at the anger. Not at the fear. But at the pattern. "You're staying here," I said quietly. "You don't live here." The words hit harder than anything the officers had said. She stared at me, like she didn't recognize me anymore. "You're really going to do this to me?" she whispered. I didn't answer, because there was nothing left to explain. Every warning, every second chance, every excuse. I had already said it all, just softer. They lined them up by the door, one by one. Names called, shoes found, phones grabbed. No one laughing now. Daniels stayed behind for a moment. He handed me a card. "If you need to follow up or make a statement, call this number." He paused, then added quietly, "You did the right thing." I nodded, but I didn't thank him, as this didn't feel like victory. It felt like something ending. The door closed, and the house went silent. Not peaceful. Not yet. Heavy. Full of everything I had ignored for too long. Every excuse. Every moment I chose comfort over truth. Every time I told myself, she'll grow out of it. I went upstairs, changed out of my robe, put on an old sweater, then came back down. The smell hit me first. Alcohol. Sweat. Something sour underneath it all. I opened the windows. Cold air rushed in. Sharp. Clean. Honest. Then I started cleaning. Cups into the trash. Broken glass swept carefully. Sticky spots scrubbed from the floor. Lipstick-stained napkins from the mantel. Bottle after bottle after bottle. I worked slowly, methodically, like if I cleaned enough, I could erase what had happened. At 3:15, the phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go. It rang again at 3:20. This time, I answered. Grandma. Bella. Her voice was hoarse, smaller than before. "They're not charging me, not yet," she said quickly. "I might get released in the morning. Can you come?" I said nothing. "Please," she whispered. I didn't know what was in that bag. It wasn't mine, you know that. I would never. "I'm tired, Bella." Silence. "Just come down here," she tried again. "Talk to them. Tell them I'm not." I hung up. 10 minutes later, the phone rang again. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked to the drawer by the stairs, the one where I kept envelopes. 2 weeks ago, I had placed $100 there, just in case she needed help. I took the envelope out, held it in my hands, looked at it for a long moment. Then I tore it. Once, twice, again, until it was nothing but scraps. At 4:30, the house was clean. Not perfect, but clean. I made tea, sat at the kitchen table, and looked at the quiet hallway. Then I reached for my notebook, opened to a fresh page, and wrote, October 12. I finally stopped making excuses. By morning, the silence had changed. It was no longer relief. It was something heavier. Something that pressed against the walls. Like the house itself was waiting to see if I would take it all back. I didn't. The call came at 9:42 a.m. Unknown number. I let it ring, then immediately regretted it. What if it was the station? What if? Voicemail. Played it. This is Officer Mathis from Somerville PD. Calling regarding Ms. Bella Millard. She's been released but has no transportation arranged. If you could pick her up within the hour. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and I could already see how this was supposed to go. I would go. She would walk out. Eyes red, voice soft. I didn't mean it, Grandma. It just got out of hand. I didn't know. We'd drive home in silence. She'd sleep until noon. And by evening, everything would reset. That's how it had always worked. Look, you stop it. I didn't call back. At 10:26, another call. At 10:51, my son, Paul. I stared at his name on the screen. The last time he'd called? July. He needed help with taxes. Before that, Christmas. 5 minutes. Mostly about money for Bella's books. I answered. Mom. What the hell is going on? No hello. No pause. Just accusation. Good morning, Paul. I just got a call from Bella. She spent the night in jail. At the station, I corrected calmly. There's a difference. What happened? She had a party. With strangers. With drugs. She said it wasn't hers. Maybe it wasn't, I said. But it was in my house. Silence. Then, you called the cops on her? No. I let that sit. The neighbors did. Another pause. Longer this time. She asked you for help, he said. She did. And I said no. The air shifted. I could hear it in his breathing. She's 19, Mom. You couldn't handle this another way. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny. Because it was familiar. Did you know she was throwing parties here? I asked. What? No. She had strangers in my house, Paul. Drunk. Loud. There were drugs. She said. I know what she said. Silence again. But this time, it wasn't confusion. It was calculation. You could have ruined her life, he said coldly. That did it. I didn't ruin anything, I replied. I cleaned up after her. Again. A pause. Then quieter. What I didn't do for the first time was make myself small to protect her. That's not fair. No, I said. It isn't. And for the first time in years, I wasn't the one apologizing for it. He hung up. Just like that. I stood there for a moment, phone still in my hand, waiting to feel something. Anger. Guilt. Regret. Nothing came. By noon, the text started. Bella. Grandma, I'm sorry. Please let me come back. I have nowhere to go. Then, you don't care if I end up on the street? I turned the phone to silent. The truth? I did care. I always had. But caring had become something else. A leash. And every time I pulled it tighter, to protect her, to guide her, to love her, she only learned how to pull harder. Until I couldn't breathe. I made myself lunch. A sandwich. Half a pear. Sat in the sunroom. No television. No distractions. Just the quiet ticking of the clock. And the sound of birds outside. Around 2 p.m. I opened the closet by the stairs. Reached behind the linens. And pulled out the fireproof box. Inside. Everything that mattered. Documents. Bank papers. My will. I hadn't looked at it in 6 years. Back when Bella had just graduated. Paul still came over for Sunday dinners. Back when I thought we were still a family. I sat down and I read every page. Every name, every decision made by a version of me, who believed things would stay the same. They didn't. 3 hours later, I picked up the phone. Hello, I'd like to schedule an appointment with my attorney. Monday. Then I made another call. The bank. I'd like to review all account authorizations and set up a new account in my name only. Pause on the other end. Then, do you want to close the joint accounts? Eventually. But for now, I said, make sure no one can access anything without my approval. I hung up, placed the papers back in the box, closed it, and then, for the first time since Bella had moved in, I locked my front door. From the inside, that evening, I expected her to come back, crying, arguing, demanding. She didn't. Instead, at 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. I already knew who it would be. Some things announce themselves before they happen. The air changes. Your hands grow colder. I opened the door. Paul stood there. And he wasn't alone. Beside him, a woman, early 40s, sharp blazer, hair pulled tight, clipboard in hand. Mom, he said stiffly, this is Judith Graves. She's a family advocate. I looked at her, then back at him. We'd like to talk. I stepped aside. Come in. They sat. I didn't. Judith smiled. The kind they teach you in training. Measured. Controlled. Mrs. Millard, she began. I understand things have been tense. I wouldn't call it recent, I replied. Paul exhaled sharply. We're not here to fight. Then why are you here? Judith leaned forward slightly. Your granddaughter is very upset. She feels she's been left without support. She threw a party with drugs in my house, I said plainly. She claims she didn't know. She's 19, I cut in. Not 9. Silence. Paul stepped in again. She could have been charged. She could have hurt someone, I replied. Or lost me this house. He looked away. Judith made a small note, then tried again. Have you considered a mediated conversation? I almost smiled. I've spent years structuring silence, I said. That was my version of mediation. That stopped her. Paul stood up. I didn't come here to be insulted. No, I said. You came here hoping I'd go soft again. I walked to the door, opened it. That night, I didn't turn the porch light on. For years it had been habit. Light on meant welcome, meant safety, meant someone is home. But that night, I left it off. No footsteps, no shadows, no late night knocks, just wind moving through the trees, and a silence that didn't feel empty anymore. Felt chosen. Morning came slowly, the kind of quiet morning that doesn't rush you out of bed. I made tea, stood at the sink, watched the yard like it might tell me something new. At 10:02 a.m., the phone rang. Unknown number. This time, I answered. Hey, Bella. Her voice was different. Not angry. Not tearful. Just flat. So I guess this is how it is now. You know I didn't put that in your house, right? She said quickly. Then who did? I asked. Silence. I'm staying with Lenny, she muttered. It's not great. I pictured him instantly. Baggy clothes. Sharp eyes. The kind of boy who always looks like he's already decided not to care. Are you safe? I asked. A short laugh. What do you care? I asked a question. Another pause. Longer. I don't know, she admitted. Probably not. That landed harder than anything she'd said before. But I guess that's the point, right? She added. You want me to feel it. I closed my eyes. No, I said quietly. I want you to feel something real. Silence. Then, Paul said you're changing your will. I am. You're seriously cutting us off? I didn't answer. She let out a bitter laugh. I thought you were different. I thought you were the one person who'd never give up on me. I leaned against the counter, felt its edge press into my side. Grounding. I said, until I realized I wasn't helping you. Silence. I was disappearing, I continued, so you could keep pretending nothing had consequences. Whatever, she snapped. You think this makes you strong? Leaving your own granddaughter out there. You're not out there, I said evenly. You're with someone. You have a phone. You have choices. She didn't reply. Then, the line went dead. I stood there for a long time, phone still in my hand, but I didn't cry. Instead, I opened the drawer by my desk. Inside were years of small things. Birthday cards I never sent. Cash tucked into envelopes. Clippings of things I thought she'd like. I took them out one by one. A school photo. 7th grade. That awkward smile she tried to hide. A flyer from her high school play. She had one line. She practiced it for weeks. A crumpled piece of paper. A poem she wrote me in 3rd grade. You smell like cinnamon. I sat down slowly. I didn't throw them away. I placed them into a box. Closed it. Set it aside. Not gone. Just no longer something I lived inside. Around noon, Marlene stopped by. 2 houses down. Banana bread in hand like time hadn't moved since 1954. You all right? She asked gently. I suppose that depends on what you mean by all right. She didn't push. Just sat with me. Poured coffee. Let the silence breathe. You always were the strong one, she said. I looked at my hands. Maybe I should have been less strong, I replied. Maybe I would have seen things sooner. She reached across the table. Light touch. Steady. You're allowed to be tired, she said. You're allowed to choose peace. I didn't answer, but I heard her. That evening, the doorbell rang. I moved slowly, already knowing something wasn't right. When I opened the door, it wasn't Bella. It was one of the boys. From the party. Dark hoodie. Nervous. Restless. He didn't see me at first. He was crouched near the porch, like he was hiding something. I tapped the glass. Sharp. He flinched, then ran. Gone in seconds. I stepped outside. Looked down. There, half hidden in the planter, was a small black object. A vape pen. I didn't touch it with my hands. Used a napkin. Placed it carefully into a plastic bag. Then I wrote a note. Found on porch. 10:37 p.m. Belongs to one of the boys from Saturday. I set it by the door. Not because I was afraid. Because I was done pretending things didn't matter. The next morning, there was ash on the steps. Fresh. I cleaned those steps every evening. Always have. Someone had been there. Again. But they didn't knock. I swept it up. Dumped it. Went back inside. Locked the door. Tea. Same cup. Same rhythm. Life continuing. At 10:02 a.m., the phone rang again. This time, I didn't hesitate. Hey, Bella. Different again. Not defensive. Not sharp. Just tired. I'm not at Lenny's anymore, she said. Where are you? A friend's place. Her mom knows I'm here. It's okay. I nodded even though she couldn't see me. That's good. Silence. I've been thinking, she said slowly, about what you said. I didn't interrupt. About how I act. How I take. Another pause. I got used to it, she admitted. To you fixing everything. There it was. The truth. And why did you think that? I asked. Because you always did. It didn't sound cruel. Just honest. And somehow, that made it heavier. I don't expect anything, she said quickly. I just wanted to say that. Then, I wrote you something. A letter. I said nothing. I'll bring it by, she added. Later that day. She did. No drama. No tears. Just a quiet knock. She stood there, smaller than I remembered. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I know. Can I come in? Just for a minute." I stepped aside. She walked into the living room, looked around like she was seeing it for the first time. "I know I messed up," she said. "I know. I didn't know about the bag." "Maybe not," I said. "But you knew enough to lie." She nodded. Didn't argue. "I'm trying," she said. That was new. She reached into her bag, pulled out an envelope. "I wrote this." I took it. Didn't open it. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. I didn't open the letter that night. Not because I was afraid of what it said, but because I wasn't ready to let it change anything yet. Some truths need space. Not to grow, but to settle. The next morning, I opened it at the kitchen table. No ceremony. No hesitation. Just a clean tear across the fold. Her handwriting was careful. Slower than usual. Like she wanted every word to land exactly where it belonged. "Grandma, I don't know how to fix this. I don't think I can, not all at once. But I know I was wrong." I paused. Not because I doubted her, but because I had waited a long time to hear those words without an excuse attached. "You didn't deserve what I did. You didn't deserve how I treated you. You kept showing up for me, and I acted like that meant you always would." I closed my eyes briefly, not to stop the feeling, but to let it pass through without breaking me. "I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for anything. I just want to be someone you can trust again." That was it. No blame. No deflection. No performance. Just truth. I folded the letter carefully, placed it back in the envelope. Did it fix everything? No. But it was the first thing she had given me, without expecting something in return, and that mattered more than she probably knew. Later that day, I went to the post office. The air had shifted, cooler, sharper, like the season itself was turning a page. I mailed 2 letters, one to my lawyer, confirming the changes were final, and one to a local program, a place that helped young women learn how to stand on their own after life had given them no one to lean on. I chose to leave something there, not out of pity, not out of guilt, but because I finally understood something clearly. Support should build people, not replace them. That evening, I sat in the living room, looked around slowly. Nothing had changed. Same walls, same furniture, same quiet, but it felt different. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for something to go wrong. At dusk, the doorbell rang. That old instinct hit me first. That quick tightening in the chest. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Bella. It was Officer Daniels. "Evening, ma'am," he said. "I just wanted to follow up. No charges were filed," he added. "Everything's been closed." I nodded. "Thank you." He hesitated a moment, then said, "I see situations like this a lot." I waited. "Some families don't recover from it," he continued. "Others don't go back to what they were, but they find something new." I didn't answer right away, because I already knew which one this was. "Not broken," he said gently, "just different." After he left, I closed the door slowly. Not broken, just different. The next morning, I went to the grocery store. Nothing special, just apples, oatmeal, a frozen pie crust. The girl at the register smiled. "Company coming?" I shook my head. "No." Then added, "I'm learning how to cook for one. Like it matters." She smiled wider. And for once, so did I. Days passed. Quietly. Steadily. I sorted old things. Let go of what I didn't need. Kept what still meant something. I found a scarf Bella had made years ago. Crooked stitching. Bright colors. Imperfect. I kept that one, because it reminded me there had been a time she knew how to give. And maybe she was learning again. A week later, there was a knock. Not rushed, not hesitant, just steady. When I opened the door, it was her, Bella. No makeup, hair tied back, smaller somehow, but clearer. "I'm not here to fight," she said. "I know. Can I come in?" I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, looked around, not judging, not careless, just present. "I know I messed up," she said. "I know," I replied. "I'm not asking to come back," she added quickly. "I just wanted to tell you I'm trying." I nodded. "I believe you," I said. That surprised her. I could see it. "I got a job," she added. "At the co-op." "That's good. They might ask for a reference." She hesitated. "I won't use your name unless you're okay with it." "I am," I said. Not because I trusted her completely, but because I trusted what she was becoming. She reached into her pocket, pulled out a key, set it gently on the table. "I don't think I should have this anymore," she said. I looked at it, didn't pick it up. "You could have just left it," I said. "I wanted you to see me return it." That mattered, more than anything else she could have said. She turned toward the door. "I'll go. You can stay for tea," I said. She paused, then nodded. "I'd like that." No hugs, no tears, just two people, standing in a quiet kitchen, waiting for the kettle to boil. Nothing fixed, but something real had started. Weeks passed. She began stopping by. Not often, not perfectly, but differently. She asked before using things, cleaned up after herself, brought scones sometimes. Once, she brought laundry. "Machines are broken," she said. "Can I use yours?" Not assumed, not expected. Asked. "Yes," I said. That was the change. Not in grand gestures, but in the small ones. Paul called sometimes. Short conversations. Careful words. He never asked for money again. That was his version of learning. And I didn't rush it, because I had learned something too. Not everything needs to be fixed. Some things just need to be seen clearly. One afternoon, I saw Bella across the street from the bakery. She was sweeping the sidewalk, moved aside for someone with a stroller, smiled. Small things, but real. I didn't call out to her, didn't interrupt. I just watched, then walked home. That night, I baked a cake. Not for her, not for anyone, for me, because I had come through something, because I had stopped disappearing, because I had remembered my name, and that was enough. Now when I sit in the quiet, it doesn't feel empty, feels like space. Space I chose, space I kept, space I earned. And if you're listening to this, really listening, then maybe you know that feeling too. Maybe you've been the one who stayed quiet, who gave too much, who disappeared slowly, so everyone else could feel comfortable. But listen carefully. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to take your name back. It's not too late. It never was. And when you do, they say you've changed. Say yes, and mean it.